Hello and welcome. I'm into another little critter project here where I now, instead of doing birds, I'm doing butterflies. And of course, they're scrappy butterflies. And so we'll call them little flutterflies because they're fluffy and fluttery. So let me show you a little bit. Let me bring you up and let you look just a little bit at the butterfly here. You can see that I cut pretty much the solid pieces for the backs of the wings of a solid color. And then I started layering up different little bits and pieces. You can see they're small, of different fabrics, gauzies, weaves, shears, things that layer really nicely without getting too bulky. Same way on here, I'm not through layering this one yet. I am pretty much done with this one, and but I have gotten them sewed so they're down securely. And then just a little butterfly body. Two shapes for the wings, and these are just ones that I just cut myself, and just this is probably my fourth or fifth try at getting the sizing right. The shape was okay, but I kept having to enlarge it a little and to get my butterfly to fit the piece, the size of my background that I'm working on. I do intend this to be frameable art, so let's see if composition is going to be good. Now this is a smaller inside frame, but if we were to pull it up about like that, you could see that that composition is looking good. And a little bit bigger composition would just do well too. So I do always test composition-wise with my little mats to make sure that before I sew anything down. I actually have a very loose weave black fabric, a very loose weaved cream colored fabric, and a sheer fabric that has some lines through it that has a little glitter, a little gold shine to it on top of that. And so substantially, I wanted something substantial but easy to sew through since I'm layering so many things. And then this little sheer piece here just gives me a little bit better background than the rougher weave look back there. Okay. I cut a piece of embroidered motif off of a piece of clothing, and I'm going to use that as the little flower that the butterfly is on. As you can see, all the additional flowers are just loose threads and fabrics, just around. And I left this part pretty much to stitch in my video because I've had so many questions as how I get this to stay down and without putting anything over the top or anything like that. And it's just a matter of stitching it. Remember, this is intended for frameable art, so it's going to go in a frame. And if people frame like I do, or I frame it, it'll be behind glass. And when I do that, then that certainly secures anything. But even if it were to be a pillow front or something like that, it would just be a piece that I would take care of and make sure that it's out for decorative purposes and not practical purposes. So it wouldn't be used a lot, so I wouldn't have to worry about anything coming dislodged once I get it down. It's not like a quilt or something like that where you know it's very functional and it's got to be secured totally. My aim in this is art, and I see it as a frame piece myself. So anyway, I'm going to leave the birds the butterflies for right now. And I'm going to start stitching on some of this stuff that's around. And we'll just call it fauna and floral here. It's just stuff. And all the pretty colors in there just really lend itself to butterflies. Just like in the birds and the nests that I do. All the threads in that nest, no matter what color, seem to lend itself well to the butterflies. I do have much of this pinned down, double pinned and so forth and so on. I'll be glad when I can get some of the pins out of there. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to outline this piece here and secure it. And we're going to just do this with straight stitches, okay? I've got cream color embroidery floss, two strands in my needle. And you will have to decide on a piece like this when you're, do I want to like sew over these threads or do I want to sew under them? Well, you want to do both because in some places you want them to be like they're growing over the flower, and other places you want the flower to go over those, or whatever focal point you put in there, mushroom, a log, whatever you have your butterfly sitting on. And you have to decide how that would look and how it would best look to give it a realistic feel. Okay. I'm not going to do a real tight stitch around this because I am going to come back and do a little stitching with some other colors to blend this with the background. Keeping the cream in the cream colored area, not letting it bleed over into the browns here, because that way it stays like a hidden stitch. Oh, hate it when I do that. Let me rethread the needle. Don't yank so hard, Linda. Let's see. Okay, went through. Let's get back to it. We can take this one out. That's holding that piece in. It's got enough stitches in it. I hope you've tried some of the scrappy birds that I have already made videos for. They are so much fun. If you did, let me know how you enjoyed making them. And if you post on here, leave me a link, because here on YouTube, I'd love to see what you created. Okay. When you're doing something like scrappy like this, and when you're doing something wild like this with the threads, you want to make sure that you don't overthink and overplace and overfix and overstraighten and do all that. You just want to put them down, get them in some kind of semblance, shape, order, and then leave them alone. Otherwise, you ruin the whole effect of the scrappiness and the wildness and the naturalness of it. You don't go out in your flower garden and straighten up every flower every day, or turn the leaf the right direction. So think about that when you're in your artwork, that when you're working with nature and flowers and things like this. It's a good thing to remember too in your landscapes. I see lots of beautiful landscapes, but some of them look more like drawings, perfect drawings, than landscapes, in the sense that there's no naturalness about it. That doesn't say that it isn't good. It is for what it is. But if they wanted it to be more natural, they would have to keep it from being so everything perfectly in a row and same size and all that kind of stuff that just ruins that look of natural nature. Getting some of this down is also securing some of these fibers already. You could put netting over it, but then that also takes away from the complete naturalness of it. It's not a bad thing. I do it myself from time to time when a project calls for it, I think. Okay. All right. I've gone around that. So I'm right down here. So I'm going to take this thread that's on my needle and I'm just going to make some straight stitches in every direction. I mean, just wherever I land is where I land. And I'm just going to start securing. I'm going to come out here to the edge and just couch over some threads. Okay. I'll do that again over here. Keep it in camera would be nice, wouldn't it? Just couch over some threads, just enough to keep them secure, but not lock them down so bad that they looked all sewn down. And you want your threads to blend. Straight stitches, all lengths. You know, I may go this far in, or I just may stay out here. It doesn't matter. It's whatever that piece needs right in that area, okay? Right now I'm doing smaller stitches because I'm working in this sparsely threaded area. And this cream colored stitch thread that I have on here is blending well. And so you won't naturally notice it much as being sewn in and not one of the threads themselves. Okay, we're going to have to change threads. Let's go up. Yep, did it again. Get it back through the needle. This black thread is coming off the background. I don't want the black in there, so. Oh, there it is. Okay, I don't want obvious ends of threads to be so obvious. I want them to play in, so if you run across an end that's sticking out that will be noticeable. Well, did it again. Darn. Let's try that again. Loop him or tuck him under or do something with him so that the ends just blend in and aren't noticeable people won't look and say, oh, there's an end to a thread. You don't want that to happen. Okay, I think I'm going to go to the back. Okay. All right. Let's put that needle over here. We'll load him up again in a minute. I do have another one already loaded, so let's just pick up where we left off. Okay, now as you can see, we have this going on here, but we don't want this sticking off the edge, so we need to encourage it to come over and lay more naturally. And if you need, you can, as one of those black threads, you can always grab a few more threads and place them where you need them. Well, I guess we're going to let him stay because he's attached somehow. Okay. Want to put these ends under that little batch right there, and this pink one too that keeps coming out. We'll stick it under. And I do need, I'm going to have to do what I said and get a few more little loose threads here. Let me just grab some. Okay. Where did you go? There's my threads. Just need a little bit tighter wad here. Let's just clip some off and then stretch it out where you need it, like right in there. That's where I need it to go to cover up those ends right there. Let's stitch that down. Now what I'm stitching right now is not the end of it. I will be doing more stitches in these threads. What I'm doing is just trying to get them down, get them positioned, and get them secured so I can work with it better. Okay. All right. You have to get something down to be able to start judging your piece to see if, do I have enough? Or do I have, what do I need to do? And so when you're sewing on something like this, never think that what your first pass is your last pass, because 90% of the time it's not. And it's just you're working your foundation, you might say. You're laying a foundation for what you're going to continue to do. I'm going to bring you back up because I think I keep getting off camera here. So far, I think you can see that we've got, from here to here, we've got this pretty well down where it's not moving anywhere, and you really don't see any threads. They just blend in with the rest of the stuff, and so that's the look we're going for. We can take this one out and this one out that are securing those, and we can see what we need to do about loose ends up here, because we definitely have these two especially, they're very distracting, I can say, in their present condition. Let's see, can we coach him under there? May have to cover him up. He may not coach. Okay, and this one needs to go under there too. Okay, let's see if we can keep him down. I love working with leftover threads, scrap threads this way. They facilitate so many looks when you're doing fiber art, fabric art, scrappy art, whatever you want to call it. These threads they just work for you in so many ways. That one wants to make a circle, and we're going to let him make that circle because it's kind of cute. We're going to tack him down, couch him in. And you notice how easy it is for me to sew through these 3 layers of fabric because the 2 back are loose weaves, fibery loose weaves, and the front is a piece of sheer fabric. So even though I have all this bulky thread and stuff, it's just going through very nice, making it very easy to sew it, which is really good. The butterfly was more difficult because there are multiple layers in that, and so that does stack up, and when they're on top of each other like that. And when you put little tiny layers, I mean, you realize that you're really stacking them up. You don't even realize how many you've got in there because they're little. And, you know, like this one, we've got 1, 2, 3. There's another 4, 5, 6, 7, about 7 layers on that wing there, and of different things layered up. Okay, now we're going to this little bit bigger yarn. We're going to couch down tighter because we don't want it catching attention by being too loose and flowy. Okay, make it tighter, make it blend into the rest of the threads. And you see, I'm just going every which way, and that's okay, especially when you're working with a thread that's blending and not showing. You can just flip and flop your piece around and get your pieces secured down and not worry about it because your thread isn't showing, it's blending. Now, when you use a thread that shows, you want to be more careful how you place your stitches. Now, some of these are very stringy inside. That's okay. I'm not going to go out here and secure every single thread. I don't want to do that. You know, I want it to look real and wispy looking, and so that's what it needs to do. It needs to do its thing like that. This is secured enough in here for sure. The other thing that this is doing is it's camouflaging this piece I cut, this motif, and so that's also helping it to blend in. And so Well, I swear, I don't know how many times I'm going to do this in this one video, but I hope I get it all out of my system and don't continue it through the rest of the videos. Ah. All right, come on, get in there. You know when you have a little long thread at the end of your thread that's just blocking your needle hole? Yeah. And no matter what you do, you can't get the bulk of the thread through the needle until you cut that thread. Then it'll happen. That is if you only thread one thread instead of two. Oh my. If I didn't have thread problems, I wouldn't have no problems at all, I guess. Oh. And I hate to get my needle threader out for this one little piece here. Come on, can you get in it? Coach it in? No. Okay, let's trim it again and get it a sharper edge on that thread. There it went. Okay, what was I going to do now? I was going to use my thread up just a little bit more. I think I was going to go around the edges and catch these bigger pieces. Work my way back down it. Just like that. One more stitch and we will secure it in the back. Okay. We can get this pin out of here and we'll leave that one in for a while longer. And let's see, do I have any grain thread? No. What would that look like? A little, very soft green, muted, dusty green, I would call him, thread on a little bit celery. I want him to be green, but I don't want him to be noticeably green. Picky, aren't I? There's a strong green in the motif with the leaf, and I want to do a little scrappy look around the edges of this motif, and I don't want to fight with that primary green that's in there, which is a pretty, what I call apple green. Okay, I'm going to come up and just put me some, can you see that? Let me bring you back up. I'm just going to go out and put what I call some blender straight stitches. We're just putting very light green out from this stem to just simulate a little bit more growth along this stem. And it also takes the emphasis off the fact that this is a cutout motif. I'm going to blend that aspect of it a little with these stitches. Kind of like you're doing when you're doing the feathers on a bird or wings of a butterfly, and you're trying to blend them into something, one aspect into something else. I like to use the straight stitches and just, you know, take the emphasis off by adding a little more stitching. Okay, now you can see how that's working along there. That makes that whole thing look cohesive rather than just having the cream color and nothing else. Put you back down. Okay. Come around and do the same thing on the other side. And since we're into the threads over here, we'll take our stitches longer, and we'll take them right into that thread bed there along the edge. And we will be securing the threads again from this direction while we're working at blending this motif. Okay, nothing just real fancy, nothing real thought out, just putting some blending stitches in here, shorter and longer, angling some, doing some straight. Taking some way out into the threads, leaving others closer in. Okay. As long as you got a little thread, just go ahead and use it. Come on down into the threads. This color green will blend very well, just like the cream did. Okay. All right. Okay, we're doing good. We're getting it down in there. We're getting it down. Let's check it for looks. Ah, yes. Isn't that looking good? And this motif is going to be there, but it's not going to be the focal point. Okay, it's just a place for this little butterfly to rest. And so we're doing a good job of getting it blended in and using our threads and things to do that. Okay. All right. Well, let's take it a little further. Well, what do you think? You know, I finished it off, and this mat shows kind of how it might look if it were matted tight. This one will show it more open. Isn't that gorgeous? I love it. It turned out to be very dimensional looking. In fact, the leaves almost look like they've been stuffed, but they haven't. But being small and layered up like they are, they have a little puffy look to them, and which kind of cool. And also these threads around here have almost a little stuffy look and to them. So it creates a little dimensional look here. Get it off this cord, bird. Let me run you through some of the finishing things that I did here. We use the threads. Let's come down and look at it closer. We use the threads here to blend this cutout motif, and I did use more threads around the edges in colors, the pinks here and the greens, and there's a little orange in there too, and two colors running along here. Ran some pinks up into there too. Just something to finish off those edges and not attract too much attention to it, but enough that it looks good with the piece. The threads are just, you saw me how I started stitching them. I stitched them the same way all the way around. I changed thread colors over here were very blending colors. In here I used a lot of yellow and gold right through here, if you might can see there. And then I switched to some pink thread up into here. And then I switched to some purple thread up in there. All together, because it's so colorful, all the colored threads actually blend well. Now the butterfly, again, you can see the layers in those wings. Just tiny bits of fabrics. Most of these I've frayed up quite a bit. Just little bits, a little bit of fiber in there. However you like it, however it looks good to you. Using a color theme, but maybe not solid. For instance, this is not exactly the same shade as this over here, but I mean, we want the wings to be able to look different. Don't want them to blend together too much. The little body, you know, just I kept it just very simple. I did take some orange thread that's in the body and outline these wings so that they would be easier to see. I think you can see that. Okay. So overall now, when this piece is framed, it's going to be really beautiful. I like that this sheer fabric that I put in the back gives it just that little bit of shine and glitz. I don't know if that shows up or not, but there's little bits of stripes of little glittery lines that go through there. And there's little pieces in here that have little glitz in them too, so what I call glitz. But I think it turned out very well. I'm very pleased with it, and I will be trying to do a few more just to give you some more ideas of. But I just started with a shape that I cut and 2 butterfly shapes and a body, and that was it. You know, that's all you need. Like I said, I did have to try 3 or 4 times sizing it to get it sized right for this. So I cut it and it wasn't big enough, and I'd enlarge it a little and so forth, that process, until I got it where the butterfly wings were substantial enough to be a focal point here. And of course, the size would change with every time that you change the size of the background. If this was a tinier piece, well, then definitely these have to go smaller. But anyway, you just size it. But there's only 3 templates here. 2 leaves. 1 leaf has a heart shape to it, and 1 leaf has just a petal shape. And then the little body of your butterfly, however you want it to look. So I hope you like it. I certainly do. And you know what? With all this scraps around here, we can certainly stay scrap happy making some butterflies today. Take care.